Yeah, it still is. Yes.
Still limping along. It's been difficult to get reaction from Walgreens site. That they would prefer to have, to reconfigure part of the parking lot area and entrances and have a joint access agreement to 55. And just getting confirmation from the property owners of Walgreens to do that is just more difficult. So they're still looking to do it. And I don't know if they'll get to a point, if they can't come to terms with that, if they'll just go ahead on an alternate development of it, but that's what's been taking a long time. Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, just getting a reaction even, it's just been very. Okay.
All right, looks like we have a quorum here this evening. Welcome to the Hastings Economic Development and Redevelopment Authority August 10th, 2017 meeting in Hastings City Council chambers. Item number 1, we do have a quorum. We have 4 of us here. Item number 2 are the minutes from the July 13th, 2017 regular meeting. Are there any questions or comments or changes for John?
I'll move to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
All right, very good. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And the minutes are accepted. On to item number 3, we have the bills. And I believe John will run us through those.
Sure, we have a lot of expenses incurring at the Hudson Manufacturing Building related to environmental cleanup. One of them being the interior floor removal that was done earlier this year, more towards the spring by Fratellone, and then the Ram excavating for the interior soil removal. That $110,000 would represent, I think, about a little under half of the contract. The Fratellone at $141, that first payment is essentially all of it. We do have a 5% reserve that we have on it. Stantec is for their environmental consulting on the project, and then the other bills are pretty customary. We've got House of Levine, our Vermillion Street corridor contractor, that will be having bills coming forward as we go through the Vermillion Street corridor plan. So I can stand for any questions.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions for John? Yes.
I just have one question, John, on the household Levine, Vermillion Street corridor. Was that part of our original budget for 2017?
It was.
Line item we already had.
Any additional questions or comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion regarding the bills.
Make a motion to accept.
Very good. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor of accepting the bills, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And the bills are accepted. On to item number 4, business. Item A, we are awarding a contract for the vapor intrusion mitigation system installation at Hudson Manufacturing.
Well, folks, I hope this is the last environmental contract that we have to issue at the Hudson Manufacturing Building. What this is, the vapor intrusion mitigation system, is it's a system that actively vents off soil vapor through the building itself. And so there would be construction of kind of like HVAC type of infrastructure within the floors that would actively vent the vapor out towards the top of the building. This is a requirement from our Phase 2 environmental. We had Clean Vapor, the winning bidder on this one, also was the designer of the contract specification, so they're very familiar with the product itself and the installation of the project. The bid that came in is for about $434,000. It's a little bit above what we anticipated. We anticipated about $420,000, $430,000. for the bid price on that. Given Clean Vapor's track record and given the response that we've had from calling up the references that we've seen from them, we are recommending award of this contract. And so the award would be for the contract with Clean Vapor in the amount of $433,900. What is one of the things that we will be doing here over the next couple of weeks is making the determinations as to how much of this contract we're going to be putting into place before transfer of the property and after transfer of the property. With the complexities of this construction, there's portions of this that may be better suited to wait until the property is transferred and other interior renovation is happening on the site around it, rather than to try to install this independently. But one of the discussions that we've had with Confluence has been their desire to have an idea of what these projects are going to cost, and having a direct funding source for them. So we'll have further discussions on this. It may be it'll be a contract if upon award that we would manage. The question that would come up is whether we would manage it before the closing of the property or potentially afterwards. So I could stand for any questions.
Very good, thank you. Are there any questions or comments for John? Yes.
My question, John, is Confluence has been in contact with you a lot, I presume. When we award a contract of this size, and it basically is setting it all ready for them to redevelop building, is there any thoughts in your mind that they're gonna ever back out of this, or are they so far down the road now that they can see the end and they're just about there?
I would say, I can't imagine them backing out from anything that I've seen at this point. I mean, they have a lot of invested within the property itself and the project. I wouldn't have to hazard what amount of money they have had in it, but we see no reason to believe that it wouldn't be that.
And the second question is, you have been working after the council voted on the 24th to get the information off the Met Council. Do you have any idea of a timeline for their answer coming back, so maybe we can get this done?
Right. Well, that, I'm still working on getting a better timeline on that as far as how Met Council is going to process these grant amendments. So that'll be forthcoming shortly.
Just one comment, I think it is, having put one of these things in myself
Okay.
and seeing what some of the challenges are, right? It is something that attaches to the exterior of the building. So it would make a lot of sense to coordinate that as opposed to just throwing it up and then watching the developer sort of trip around it or
Mm-hmm.
try to tuck point brick underneath of it or any number of things. So that, whoever thought of that was thinking ahead, because that, like I say, I watch one go in and they're not incredibly sophisticated, but they are gonna get in the way of probably a variety of exterior renovation work.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Very good. Any additional comments or questions? All right, we'll entertain a motion on the action to award the vapor intrusion mitigation system installation to Clean Vapor LLC.
I'll move to approve it.
Very good. Do we have a second? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? And the award is the contract is awarded.
Thank you.
All right, on to item B, authorize amendment to Business Industrial Park land price.
Thank you. As part of our continuous review of our business programs, we just have a couple things to, some changes to propose to our business park land price. The market value of the land that's currently listed in our Land for a Dollar program is $71,874 per acre, which is $1.65 per square foot. After review of current market value conditions, we found that according to the Dakota County Assessor's value, the average price per acre of available land right now in our industrial park is $66,988.97, which is an average price of $1.54 per square foot. So in the short term, we're proposing that the market valuation be updated to reflect those numbers, the $66,988.97 and the $1.54. And then additionally, we, as a long-term guideline, we'd like to conduct an annual review of the market valuation and set the price according to the Dakota County Assessor's valuation. So I guess I can stand for any questions. If you have any, otherwise, we're looking for authorization to update those program guidelines.
Very good, thank you. Are there any questions or comments regarding this item? Yes.
So Morgan, if we lower the price per square foot or per acre to more match the Dakota County Assessor's value, does that change any of our existing dollar for an acre type of thing, or any of the one we just approved? Does it change anything in their process as they go through?
So as far as the one that just went through, we kind of had it in there that this was coming up to, for presentation. So that could change to the $1.54. As far as current contracts, John, you can probably speak better to that.
Yeah, we don't have anything current that would be affected by this, just the one that we had, that recent authorization for CrossFit. On that project, the authorization that we received from HEDRA and from the council on that one, we would move forward with the contract documents based upon the decision tonight. So if it was the decision to lower it, we would reflect that.
All right, thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to correct our evaluation to be linked to the Dakota County Assessor's value, and to annually review our pricing on that.
I'll second that.
Very good. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? And we have authorization.
Okay, thank you.
Good. On to item number 5, reports and information, and we'll hand it back off to John.
Sure, it's getting to be late summer, so getting to be budget time here. We've put together some preliminary budget numbers, met with the Finance Committee of City Council, so I wanted to share some information that we're working on tonight. We're not asking for any ultimate approvals tonight from HEDRA. I anticipate that we would be doing that in September or October, but just wanted to give you a snapshot of the budget as it moves forward. As you may recall, what we've typically done to fund HEDRA activities has been to use the maximum amount of levy available to us through our Housing and Redevelopment Authority levy, which we plan to do again for 2018. That would generate a total of about $356,000, which is about another $12,000 more than what we had in budget year 2017. And a lot of the initiatives that we have are similar. The activities we have are similar. The big change, obviously, is that we are anticipating a sale and a transfer of Hudson responsibilities by the end of 2017, so that's not being reflected in the 2018 budget itself. We would still have some contract management that we may need to do for grants on behalf of that project, but not the operational expenses. But we did have a couple of new program initiatives that we're looking at doing that I wanted to share with you tonight. One of them would be to expand the existing residential rehab program that we have. As you're aware, it's a program that provides rehabilitation loan funding for residential properties. We also have another program that provides it for commercial. The residential properties historically have been limited to historic portions of the city. What we're looking at doing is expanding that city-wide. There are areas of the city that may not be on a historic register or be of a historic construction, but are in need of residential rehabilitation. When we speak to our code enforcement staff, they find houses that are in need of assistance, and this loan could provide it similarly. So we would devise a program specifically for that, but we're looking at allocating funding from our reserve fund to do that, similar to what we've done with our other loan programs. The other one would be to expand our economic development marketing. One of the great things that Morgan's been doing since she got here is giving us greater exposure on the regional level as to what's available in Hastings, and we want to continue to do that. So we would attend about 3 to 4 economic development trade shows, real estate events to market opportunities in Hastings. So be able to put together some booth, promotional material, costs for registration, other things. So really getting the word out there that Hastings is a good place and a good opportunity to come to. The other one would be the implementation of the Vermillion Street corridor. As you know, we're going through the planning efforts right now. Those would wrap up very early in 2018, but once they're wrapped up and the goals and objectives are identified, we want to be able to have a mechanism in which we may be able to implement them. Now, with the Vermillion Street Plan, what we anticipate is that most of the heavy lifting is going to be done privately. We're going to set goals and objectives of what we want to see in the corridor, but we're also going to see opportunities where the private market might not be able to get all the way there, and that the plugging of a gap is necessary. And so we wanted to be able to have a mechanism available that we can assist on key properties in getting those ready for development, or providing that extra boost that it might be needed to turn a vacant or a blighted property into something that would be developable. So those are the items that we're looking at for 2018. You know, we're looking, in the large scheme of things, looking at pivoting from Hudson and downtown, which great things have happened down there, to Vermillion Street, where there's a lot of opportunity, and a little more citywide. And so that's kind of some of the things that we're looking at for 2018, and I just wanted to stand for questions or comments that the commission might have.
Very good, thank you, John. Are there any questions? Yes.
John, I see totally it comes up to about $65,000 on the 3 items that you have listed that would be new initiatives for 2018. So does that kind of offset what we will not be paying, hopefully, in heating, electrical, security, the things we are now paying at Hudson, but then would be taken over by the owner at that point? Is it pretty an apple to apple, or how close is it?
It pretty much is. It's about $50,000 of annual expenses for Hudson for maintenance items, so that would cover a lot of that 65 difference, correct?
Question.
Yes.
With regard to structures beyond historic neighborhoods, if you want to term it that, is the criteria different, and how is that allocated? Is it built by a certain year? What gives a structure historic value?
Yeah, good question. I don't have the program criteria developed yet. That'll be something that we'll be doing upon the allocation of it, but really dividing some parameters as to how we make decisions to grant money, or to loan money, I should say, in this case.
So that'll be forthcoming. And
It
just
would
not
be, yep,
determined. Okay.
correct.
All right.
All right. Moving on here, I'll turn it over to Morgan for the next couple.
Thanks. So just an update on the Vermillion Corridor Plan. We hosted a booth along with the comp plan at Rivertown Days to spread awareness and gain feedback. We had a pretty good response there. Thought that was pretty successful. Additionally, the Vermillion Street Project website is active. If you haven't visited, there's surveys and mapping tools on there. And then our next step is the Business and Community Workshop, our key person interviews, and our coalition meeting, which will be held September 11th through the 13th. So more specific information will be following. And then an update, our ULI workshop was held on July 19th. We had great panelists who gave us really good insight and ideas, and some of the key takeaways included keeping our authentic part of our city and marketing that to everybody, knowing our brand and telling our story, build upon our small successes, be thoughtful about the financial role that Hastings wishes to play in redevelopment, and work with those developers to continue to sell our community and get development and redevelopment happening.
I want to add one other thing, a couple things here. On the Vermillion Corridor Plan, one of the things that we're going to be doing right now is really, we're in a public information gathering session. And so if you have people that you know that are interested yourself, or if you're watching on TV, you can look at our website. There's a lot of great tools on there, some survey information, you get information on you as to what's important. And also, since I'm kind of a map geek, they have a really cool mapping tool there that you can go on, identify things in the corridor, things you like, things you'd like to have changed, and this map can help us to identify areas that people want to see changes on. So that part is neat. And then with the key person interviews, being able to get more information from them. So gather all this information together, then we can start really putting the bones of the plans together. So that'll be pretty cool. And then on ULI, just want to thank you for your participation. in that as well. We got some good feedback from it, and we'll be using that as we go forward on our economic development goals and objectives.
Yes, question?
Well, question and question and then a comment. How are you doing, Morgan, on the key person interviews for September 13th, 11th, 13th? Are you still looking for people to be, for recommendations for people to meet, or have you got kind of a schedule for the interviewers who are going to be coming?
So we have a list. We're comparing that right now with the comprehensive plan to kind of see where there's overlap and just kind of make sure, we're not doubling up, or if we are doubling up, how we can kind of integrate that together too. But if you do have somebody that you think would be great, we're going to start reaching out next week. So if you have them, if you want to send them forward, that would be great.
The second item is a comment that Mark and I were able to attend that ULI workshop on the 19th. And it was very well done by the four panelists that Morgan or UNL was able to get here. But one of the takeaways that I got was Hastings has a situation where we'd love to have more people between the 25 to 35 age market come to Hastings from outside of Hastings, not just Hastings kids coming back, but people moving to Hastings. We've got an arts community, we've got those, but we don't have enough good apartment housing stock in Hastings at this point that they would want to move into to then be here for 1 or 2 years as a renter and then buy a house in Hastings. So I think one of the things that we as the HEDRA should discuss is we own the UBC sites along that corridor over there, next to that large parking lot that is wonderful. That would be something with a few homes added to it, that we would have a 1 or 2 block area that could be a nice place for a new housing project, and Bill Beard or someone else could step in. They would do it. We would simply work on the land piece. And so reminder that we have that land, that maybe we can get that housing stock moving.
That's a great observation and a great idea, I think.
Thank you.
Just a general question, so these takeaways, they're sort of specific and rather abstract, all rolled into one. So what is the next step then to kind of build on these? I mean, where do you go next with this kind of broad, know your brand, tell your story? I mean, learning to tell your story is having a story first, and then
Right.
working together to make sure you're all hearing the story the same way and
And telling
the
the story.
story the same way and delivering a common and cohesive message. So just as an example, what are they, being thoughtful about the financial role is a rather abstract recommendation. What do you do with these next? What are we or as the city, what's next?
I think as a city and as figuring out exactly what our message is, they're telling us that that's an important thing to do. And so understanding ourselves, who we are and what we want, and then going out and telling that. And, when you say being thoughtful about our financial role, that's a huge part of the Vermilion project as well, is understanding what we want to happen, what developers think will happen, and understanding what our role is in that, and then communicating that to the development community so they know what we're willing to do, we can do, or what we can assist with.
And one of the things related to that too, and it's a question, comment that's brought up many times, and that is just the proximity of Hastings and the thought that Hastings is someplace between, Omaha and Topeka, as far as distance from the Twin Cities here, and just being able to dispel that myth. So that's one of the takeaways that we got from there, is to really, how do you go about doing that? And so we've had some internal conversations on that. Other things related to this, we have kind of an economic development strategic plan. We'll be going over that in the next few months. Some of the items from the ULI visit, I think, would work well in there.
Okay. more curiosity than,
Yeah.
or even as this group, what can we contribute to that process? Obviously, I think we want to play an active role, but these are somewhat challenging to act upon just because they're so broad, so.
And these were the takeaways at the end of the workshop too. So there's like a summary in here that has more specific things that they say to do in order to get to to this point. Whether that be working with local developers to do these certain things. So they did provide more specifics at the workshop, and these are just kind of a broad takeaway, like you said, yeah. But these kind of helped us understand that we are on the right track of what we're moving towards. So that was helpful.
Thank you.
Very good. I believe we're on item D.
Sure. Hudson Development Update. I went through a little bit of this earlier, but I'll provide a few more comments related to what's going on down there. One of the great things that's not going on down there right now is vacuuming up of dirty soil. We spent about 5 weeks down there with Ram Contracting on the excavation of contaminated soil and crawl space areas on a project that we thought was going to be about 2 to 3 weeks. And so I want to thank people for their patience in the noise and the disruption from that, but that project is done with now. We did meet with RAM last Friday, signed off on the improvements that they have done. What we're left with inside the building now it almost looks like an archaeological site. You've got these areas of bedrock within the building itself that undulate, some areas that go down about 8 feet or so, which is amazing. But that project is done with, which is great. With the vapor intrusion mitigation system bid award, as I mentioned earlier, that's our last environmental responsibility prior to closing. So that's good. And then we had the meeting with, on July 24th, with the City Council to go over amendments for the grant agreements for LCDA related to the parking ramp and landscaping. They gave us the authorization, so we're working with Met Council on that. We continue to meet with Confluence Development on a conference call about every 2 weeks right now, just to kind of go over environmental and development things. And so we're hoping in the next couple of months, or not hoping, we're on track in the next couple of months to be able to transfer the property there as we keep chucking things down the list, which will be great. So that keeps moving along. That vapor intrusion bid award, to me, is a very big milestone from the standpoint, we spent a lot of time in going through design of that. It's a very complex system. We had a lot of questions from bidders that led us to believe that the bid itself was going to be much more than what the bid quote was going to be, or what our bid estimate was going to be on that one. So that was a relief to find that the bid came back as something that was close to being within budget. So, and the nice thing is, the information or the environmental expenses that we are incurring are still being funded through grants that we have on hand, and so we're chugging through the grant funds as they're intended to be. So these large bills that we have will be paid for through other grant funds.
All right, are there any questions for John?
And then looking at other things, I got a commercial real estate update that I submitted separately here from CBRE, showing about 4 or 5 inquiries and touch points that they had over the last month or so. Some of those we've talked to as well on that. I mean, we've had more meetings in the last probably 6 months or so than we've had in the last couple of years on especially on the industrial park itself. So it's exciting, and I think a lot of it's due to Morgan being out there and pressing things that the opportunities that are there. So we've, in one of those projects that came forward, there's probably a couple, 2 or 3 others out there that we've been talking with that may come forward in the future as well. So that's great news. On the commercial vacancy end, we've seen some changes in the downtown over the last month or so. Evanston Art Studio on 2nd Street is available for lease. However, it appears that they're moving to a different location in downtown, so they'll still be there. And then we have the Divine Inspirations, which was available for lease now. They've cleared out. And then the Gone Dentistry building up for sale. When you take a look at other development going on right now, we did have a city council meeting on August 7th in which we looked at declaring for as excess a property that we own on Highway 55 and Pleasant Drive. It's about a .65 acre piece between north frontage road and Highway 55. We met with the planning committee of city council to determine if that was something that they saw a need to hold on to. They stated they didn't. And so they're looking at a medical office building potentially for that. So we anticipate that we'll be bringing that forward to the council in the near future for a potential sale on that. We have a draft letter of interest that we're reviewing right now, and it may be something we'll be bringing back to them at the next meeting. Art Space Hastings Loft is partially open, which is great. Third floor is being occupied right now. First and second floor, if they have not started, will be in the near future. And then the retail commercial space on the first floor, I've been told that there's one confirmed lease in there and one that looks pretty good at this point. So on the residential side, out of the 37 units that were available, I heard that it was about 4 or 5 that were not rented, and that was probably about a week or more ago. So
Okay.
it's pretty well rented within the building itself. We're also considering a rezoning request and a future project from Criteria Smith Funeral Home. They're looking to purchase the old Knights of Columbus building at 3075 Vermillion Street, tear that building down and build a new funeral home and crematorium at that location. And so there's a rezoning that's going to be occurring as a first step. That's going to be going to Planning Commission next week, and then the site plans will be coming in the near future as a separate application. And the council took action to approve the plans for Lightborn Properties for the land credit and the site plan on August 7th. So we're putting together the final documents for transfer, and they're getting their final plans ready for construction. And I think they're looking to break ground here as soon as they can. So those are moving forward.
Wow. Are there any questions or comments regarding all of this? Yes.
Any red flags on that Criteria Smith funeral home relocation that you see at this time, or is it just like, you gotta go through all the hoops and get it rezoned and?
Yeah, the biggest question I think on there has been the crematory aspect of it, whether that's going to be something acceptable or not. I've done a lot of research on that over the last month or so, and just to determine what the effects are from talking to different people and visiting different places. I'm comfortable moving forward with that and with the location of it. That's the one thing I could see as being a potential flag on that one. The rest of it looks pretty straightforward. What they're proposing for a building itself will be a very nice addition down there.
Very good. Any additional comments or questions? If not, we will entertain a motion. Yes, is there a second?
Second?
Very good. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And we're officially adjourned.